What fact is common knowledge to people who work in your field, but almost unknown to the rest of the population? An elevator will go up to the top of the hoist instead of crash to the floor in most catastrophic failures due to the counterweights. I don't know if that makes my elevator anxiety better or worse. It all depends on whether there is a masked villain sawing at the rope holding the counterweights. Twirls mustache. Coffee shops spend more on milk than coffee. Edit, this comment thread went nuts. Anyway, here's some of my latte art just because imgur.com. I remember someone telling me once that Starbucks isn't in the coffee business, it's in the milk business. A corporate policy of requiring users to change their passwords every 90 days does not make your system more secure. It tends to actually make things less secure. Same with most password complexity requirements. If you force a 12-plus character password that cannot be dictionary defined, your users are writing it down on a post-it note. The problem with passwords is actually the name. If it was called a passphrase and you had rules like it's 5 random words you could assign them to people, they'd be easy to memorize and virtually uncrackable by computers. But you say password and people don't even think of making a sentence. My mom does passphrases to a degree, but she also has to write them down. She has a book that she keeps very cryptic notes about what sites are what passwords. She has shown me a few times, should anything happen to her, and I can't even follow it. But like a password may be something like BA2's $4 bills, bank account to save for expensive bills. She might as well just type out the full sentence, but there's always the worryingly short max password length of some sites. Emo, a book with passwords written down is probably okay, though obviously not ideal, in a home environment. If someone is breaking into your house or you can't trust the people already in the house, you've got bigger problems on your hands. There is a surprising amount of infrastructure under your feet. You'd be surprised how much public utility runs underneath private property. Always call before you dig. We had a garden in our backyard growing up. I used to dig in the spots where my mom didn't have any plants growing. I decided one morning that I was going to dig to China. I was young, okay? And kept going until I hit a thick black cord. I stabbed at it with the shovel, and saw all sorts of colors inside it. I thought I'd found some treasure, but what I was actually looking at was dozens of individual wires inside the cord, and what I'd done was take out the cable TV for the entire street. Edit, this happened in like 1985. That's why there was static on the TV, and there was no fiber involved. If it was full of colored wires, it was probably a telephone cable, and yeah, cutting through that would be a major disruption to your neighbors. It must have been both telephone and TV, because I distinctly remember my mom sitting in front of a TV full of static when I went inside after digging. How long after that did it take you to connect the dots? Not until the cable guy came over the next day. It took him a while too, because he started at the box in the backyard and had to figure out why it wasn't working there, either. I don't remember how he finally traced it to a hole in the garden that no one but me knew was there. There are tools that can approximate the length of a wire based on its resistance. If you expect in the ballpark of 120 feet and it only shows 30, you know there's a break somewhere. Most people are not good at detecting lies, and consistently score no better than chance, 5050, when tested. The score goes up slightly when it's someone they know that they're talking to, but not much. Ironically, most people rate themselves as very good at detecting lies, but they're wrong. There is no difference between a violin and a fiddle other than how you play it. A friend of mine played in the Manhattan String Quartet, and he calls every string instrument from a violin to an upright bass a fiddle. I think he does it mainly to annoy the other musicians if they don't play folk music. That is definitely to annoy the other musicians. Lamau. He be like Boris over here plays the bass fiddle, and it's a very fine fiddle he's got. The way he saws on that thing is just ducking fantastic. That's hilarious, ducking bass fiddle lol. Heartworms are treatable for dogs, but not for cats. Also, keep on top of your heartworm prevention for your dog. If they get heartworm, you can prove that they've been continually covered, which isn't difficult. The receipts are good enough, and your vet will have them in their database. Then the heartworm prevention manufacturer will pay for the treatment. Man, I love that you all love your pets. I'll just add to this, your indoor cat or dog can get heartworms. Mosquitoes can come inside. till heartworms come from mosquitoes. Mosquitoes are the vector. They're a parasite, so the mosquito sucks up and deposits the eggs when they go from dog to dog, feeding on blood. The maximum spacing between spindles in a railing is 4 because that's the average size of a baby's head. Most building officials will carry a force sphere with them when doing inspections on new construction. Similarly, when public play structures are being evaluated, the evaluator brings 2 size paddles, one which is equal to the average size of a new norm's head, and one that equal to the largest average size of a child under 10. They then stick the paddles in all crevices of the play structure. If the smaller one, the head, can get through, the bigger one, body, must also be able to, otherwise the structure won't pass inspection. Edit: I meant to say newborns, not new norms, but it spiked such great comments that I'm just gonna leave it. Touching your fresh tattoo with your unwashed fingers is bad. It's absurd how many times we have to tell this to people. The toner in your printer is plastic being melted onto the paper. To add to this, an inkjet printer micro-boils the ink in the printhead before transferring it to the page, bubbling just barely. I had no idea about this until last year. Virtually every piece of copper, aluminum, or steel you come across has been chopped to bits, refined, melted down and used to make whatever object it's a part of. Dozens, if not hundreds of times. Copper pipe? Probably started out as hundreds of different wires from various devices from around the world at one point. That's really cool. You should see the process firsthand. Google metal foundries, very fascinating stuff. I'm on the scrap shopping side of things, which isn't as exciting but still cool. No one is going to see your website if you don't have a strategy to drive traffic there. For whatever reason, people seem to think if you put something online, people are, at best, going to flock to it in droves, or at worst at least stumble across it accidentally. But that's 100% not going to happen. Nobody's just going to stumble on your website. It's like putting a restaurant on the moon, not telling anybody about it, then wondering why no one's eating there. What are the best strategies for driving traffic to a website? There is no such thing as a perfectly functioning aircraft. Every plane you fly on has a multitude of maintenance issues, just not severe enough to affect safety of flight. Edit: effect versus effect. Edit: my apologies to everyone boarding a plane today. Rest assured, this is nothing to worry about. Planes are still the safest way to travel. Smile. Thank you for the nightmares. Most 911 calls an ambulance receives on a daily basis are not remotely close to being emergencies. An electrical engineer isn't an electrician. I repair large format printers for a living. They are designed by electrical engineers who make big bucks. I can diagnose a bad fuse on a PCB and replace it, but if the customer gets a CPU error or anything deeper, I suggest replacing the board. Every once in a while I get a guy who says, if you are a certified tech, how can you not repair the board? You just want more money for a new board. I have to explain to them that electrical engineers go to many years of school to be able to design these boards and make a lot of money doing so, and if I could do it I wouldn't be fixing printers. Most people understand, but some people won't budge. Being a civil attorney, we almost never go to jury trial, and the job can be unbelievably boring. And the time and expense involved. It's not uncommon for suits, particularly those of large dollar amounts, to take 3 to 5 years to reach resolution, and the expenses can easily run into the mid-6 figures. Just settled an admitted liability crash case, where the only question was damages. Mid-6 figure settlement, high 5-figure expenses, mostly for doctors and experts. Took 3.5 years. Nominal pipe diameters are not indicative of their actual diameter. So a 1 pipe is rarely actually 1 in either outside or inside diameter. Why? I have no idea. But if you drill a hole of exact diameter and stick that pipe in there, you're going to have a bad time. Being a stockbroker does not mean I know how you can turn $100 into $1 million by next month. Stop texting me. Subscribing to Wall Street Bits will teach you how to turn $1 million into $100 though. I worked as an insurance adjuster. Most people have no idea what homeowners insurance actually does. Here is a very simple guide to understanding what is covered by homeowners insurance, a sudden and one-time occurrence. While there are some exceptions to this, understanding those few words will help you understand 95% of what is and is not covered by your policy. Note, my experience applies to us insurance only.